Welcome to There's a Method to the Madness. My name is Rob Maxwell. I'm an exercise physiologist and personal trainer. I'm the owner of Maxwell's Fitness Programs and have been in business since 1994. Today is Friday and it's another special episode where I'm interviewing a guest. Today's guest is Dr. Sandra Buchanan of Edgewater in the Volusia County area. Very excited to talk to her about her own fitness journey. Before we get to that, let me thank our sponsors, Jonathan and his beautiful wife, Lynn Gilden of the Gilden Group at Realty Pros. They currently have over 285-star reviews on Zillow. And Realty Pros is number one in Volusia County, which means they are doing a lot right. They can be contacted at thegildengroup.com. Also, a special thank you to Overhead Door of Daytona Beach. They are flat out the best garage door company in the area and really in the state. And we're lucky to have a locally owned branch of Jeff and Zach Hawk who give you that very personal help. All right. They can be reached at overheaddordaytona.com. Okay, so now we are going to pick up right now with Dr. Sandra Buchanan. How are you doing, Sandy?
Doing great.
All right, so I told everybody that you were going to be on the show because you have your own little personal journey and you have referred to us for quite some time and we've referred back to you because you're such a great physician with promoting health and wellness in your own self and with your patients. So I think that's really cool. So tell us a little bit about your latest fitness journey. If I'm correct in my numbers, you have lost close to 40 pounds?
Yes.
All right.
So I started gaining weight after I had my kids. Kind of got to a place where I was sick of it and wanted to lose. And I've been working out with you and Ellen for probably 6 months, thinking that getting back into exercise and everything was going to do the job. And it didn't quite work. I lost maybe 5 pounds. I've also been rowing, so that extra weight in the boat wasn't something I wanted to do. And I set my goals to go to a regatta and wanted to get that weight off. So I said, okay.
Where was that regatta located?
That was in the Netherlands.
In the Netherlands. All right.
It was a great goal to make.
Absolutely. So what is a regatta for those that don't know? I know a little bit about crew, but what would you say that is?
So we're in a boat with either 4 or 8 other people rowing down the river and racing against other folks. So your speed in the boat with your movements of your arms, you need legs, you need arms, you need whole body workout. So I wanted to get stronger working with you guys in the gym. So I've been accomplishing that,
right,
which is great. But then taking some of that extra weight off was going to be a benefit also.
Yeah, and I think like you experienced what we tell so many people. They go to a personal trainer and think, well, this is going to help me lose weight, but really it might help you to some extent burn some extra calories and definitely build up the muscle, which helps you down the road. But the weight loss really comes from the diet changes, right?
Yes.
So what were your big diet changes there? Because, I mean, for those that don't know, Dr. B here, she's always been fit. She's always been strong. Like, we push her really hard at the gym. She's always willing to do it. She goes to failure. I mean, I've seen her work a couple days where she went past failure and was pretty darn dizzy. I mean, she'll go after it. So she's always been fit. But, I mean, over the last few months, I mean, the weight loss, I mean, it's noticeably different. I know you read the book, my book, and I think that helped a little bit. But what would you say are your main dietary steps that you took over the last few months? Because 40 pounds is a lot.
Right. So I kept up with the exercise.
Right.
But then, and I really thought I had a pretty good diet to begin with. It wasn't like I was eating too much, but I really went by what you had in your book of just get rid of the sugars, get rid of the junk foods. And again, it's not like I had a lot, but a cookie here, a cookie there, a milkshake here, they add up.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I got all of that out of my diet.
So all junk food.
All junk food.
Done. So what would you label as junk food for those people? Because I know what I believe it to be, but some people have different views. What do you call junk food?
So for me, it was cookies. It was chocolate chips. Like I said, occasional milkshakes.
Like what kind of milkshakes? Like Wendy's, those types of things?
McDonald's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So real milkshakes, not just smoothies.
No, not smoothies.
Gone.
Yeah, gone. And then I really cut back on how much bread I was having.
Okay.
And went more to oats.
Okay.
Fruits, vegetables. I haven't had anything out of a box in 4 months.
Yeah, I remember you saying that to somebody last week, and I found that to be interesting because not that like it's all bad because there are decent things in boxes, but it is a good tool because let's face it, it's going to be somewhat processed if it's in a box. So no more box foods.
Right.
All
so
right.
just really fruits, vegetables, proteins.
What? And you like oats?
Mm-hmm. Oats, right. Nuts.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, all the things
proteins.
that fill you up.
Mm-hmm.
So what would be a normal breakfast for you?
So an omelet.
Okay.
With feta, spinach, Kalamata olives. Then I might have some nuts a little later in the day.
Like a snack?
For a snack.
Okay.
Right?
Like almonds or?
Yep, almonds.
Okay.
Or cashews. And then I'll have some chicken and salad for lunch. And then an apple or another fruit in the afternoon. And then vegetables and a protein for dinner.
When do you eat your oats? Is that a morning thing?
Occasionally.
Occasionally.
Yeah, not all the time.
Okay.
But yes, usually in the morning.
And what has been what's been hard about this? Because you're strict now, but as we talked about, it hasn't been overly hard for you to be strict because, as you said, it's not like you were binging before. But what's been hard for you during this period? Like, what challenges do you see following this meal plan?
So for me, for myself, it's not challenging. It's just challenging dealing with those around me.
Right.
So family who don't necessarily want to follow that kind of eating habit, or if you go out with friends and you want to go to a restaurant, food choices are pretty hard other than salads in most places.
Right.
So
I know young Tyler. I coached him a little bit in basketball. So you're telling me he's not exactly a huge fan of, say, chicken and spinach for lunch?
Not really. So.
And I'm being funny. He's a teen, and that, a late teen, and that's, is he 20 now? No, 19. So, that's pretty common. So that is a big challenge with that. It's hard for people to, make sure that their family's on board. But you had a good solution to that. What's your solution to the family not always being on board?
So we got to the point where I would make what I was having for dinner, would make enough for everybody, and if they didn't like it, then they could choose to make their own stuff, or they could have a snack later if they didn't like it. But it has been beneficial because they have at least tried things that they hadn't tried before, and I've tried things that I hadn't tried before.
Right.
So never been a big fan of Brussels sprouts, but found some recipes I could live with and be able to eat some different vegetables.
Brussels sprouts and some of the other vegetables like that are so high in fiber that once you get used to eating them a little bit, you realize how beneficial they are because really we want to feel full. Fiber's like our friend, as I tell people all of the time. So,
and honestly, once you get the sugary foods out of your diet,
right,
they taste better.
Yeah,
the vegetables and stuff taste better.
Right, we get used to that, right? We're so spoiled in this country because, we have all these like ready to eat, great tasting foods. And then like when something that's nature provides, it's probably really tasty, like an apple or berries or something. Or we have clients that bring us cherry tomatoes from the garden and they're so sweet. But if your palate's so used to like milkshakes or whatever, then they don't taste sweet.
Right.
So you're exactly right. It like we have to condition ourselves. It's not easy, right? Has it been easy to lose 40 pounds?
Actually, once I started it, it really wasn't, but it was a matter of having to stick with it.
Right.
So really, I was never a big fan of I never had a scale in my house before.
Right.
But I bought a scale so that I could keep on it. And then by looking at it each day, I could say, oh, I went up weight instead of down weight. So what did I eat the day before to see what would do differently? Or what did I have a day where I just did nothing and didn't move that created some of that?
So do you weigh daily or what?
I've been weighing daily, yeah.
Yeah.
The past couple months.
And I've had this, I wouldn't say debate, but conversation with people about that. And, there's some advocates that say throw the scale out, and there's some advocates, and I've been one of those advocates before that says weigh every day. I do think there's a middle ground. I think it depends on the individual. But in your case, it seems to have helped.
Yes. Like I said, I think it depends upon the person. If the person's going to get themselves in a mental crisis over looking at the scale and obsess about it, then it's not worth it. But if you can do that and use it as a tool to know where you're going, then I think it's worth it.
And you know your personality. You know you're not like that. You know that you don't tend to get obsessive about it, and you can kind of reel yourself back. So I think that does depend. If anybody's ever struggled with food issues or things like that, they absolutely shouldn't weigh, because that's going to maybe trigger some things for them. So yeah, it depends. But in your case, it's been good. I believe our last guest wasn't a fan of it. So it's just, an individual thing. So that's pretty much your diet. What is your fitness routine now? How are you keeping the muscle and all that?
So I work out with you guys once a week.
Yep.
I usually do one other day a week at home with some weights, or I might go to the Y and work out. And then I row 3 days a week. Sometimes I bike or walk.
So the minimal is you do at least 2 days a week of strength training, which is, what we recommend. I mean, the ACSM says 2 to 3 days a week, full body routines. You're doing that. And then your crew three days a week, you said?
3. Mm-hmm.
And how long are those sessions?
An hour and a half.
Hour and a half. So you're getting close to that 5 hours, that magic window they talk about, maybe between the two. And so that's your mainstay routine. And then
golf.
And then you golf.
Bowling.
Oh, you bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Forgot those things.
Yeah. I mean, that's big. I say it's big because I know you're really good. So you've always been into sports and stuff. I remember you telling me when you were in college, you used to drive some of your study mates nuts because you would ride your bike everywhere, right? They didn't want to go to a place where, or you tell it better than me. What was that?
Yeah, I used to drive them crazy because I would set my time. I would study for an hour. Then I'd go ride my bike, and I'd find a different spot to study for another hour, then ride my bike, or I'd lived in a dorm that had 10 floors, so I'd run up to the top and run to the bottom and then back to my floor again.
So you just didn't like to stay still.
I couldn't stay still.
That's a good thing. So, okay, so then back to bowling, and so that's another thing you got into, and you and Tyler are really good, right?
We hold our own.
What is your average score?
I think I ended up with a 196 at our last average.
So I'm not a professional bowler by any means, but I've definitely tried it a bunch of times. And I can state I've never gotten close to 196, and that's your average. So what is your high score?
279, I think.
So 300 is perfect.
300 is perfect. So that's 179 is 19 spare and the rest strikes.
Oh my goodness. So yeah, so that's pretty good. And you do that when?
Usually do that once a week.
Once a week. And I believe it's Wednesdays?
Yeah, but season's over.
Okay. So you're on a bowling team. Yeah, so that's I mean, you're always into that stuff. And I think that's very, very important. All right. So that's your kind of your personal journey with fitness. So segue into your practice a little bit. As you know, listeners should know that I've always been very comfortable referring patients to Dr. Bria, although she's pretty full most of the time, because I trust that she is an advocate of eating healthy and exercise. So if your patients are listening, and some of them will, some of them are, our clients here, and they're told them about it, they're kind of excited. So what do you tell your own patients, just generally, about health and fitness? What do you want to tell them?
Well, really, I just want to see people be active and work on their general health. From my standpoint, I would way prefer that people be able to handle their medical issues with diet and exercise and lifestyle changes than have to put them on medications. Right. But a lot of times we do need medications to be able to handle the medical issues.
It's like the happy medium, right?
Right. But there are definitely things that within a medical issue that we can do ourselves that will help. And for anybody, being active will help.
Never hurts a thing, right?
It's not going to hurt anything. It's not going to hurt. I mean, and for people with osteoarthritis, it helps their joints to keep active. People with heart disease, we know that helps them be, healthier. And it doesn't mean that you have to run a marathon.
Right.
It doesn't mean that you have to get in the boat and row for miles like I do.
Right.
But just going for a walk down the road, getting on a bike,
walking is so
doing
underrated,
a stationary
isn't it?
bike,
right.
Getting in the pool, walking in a pool. all of those can be helpful for them.
Do you always recommend that to your patients? Like when you see them and you talk to them about their history, do you always recommend that?
Yes.
Yeah, that's good.
All the time. Try to get people to be able to get up out of their chairs and get up off the toilets and things like that to keep their muscles strong.
Rumor has it, tell me if this is true, this came from one of your patients, you'll do a squat in the exam room to show them how to do it and see if they can do it.
I do.
I think that's pretty cool. That your doctor's going to actually, sit there and do a squat and demonstrate it and make sure they can do it. So how is this taken by your patients? Like, would you say the majority of them appreciate it, or do they get mad?
No, I don't think they get mad. I think they appreciate it. I think some of them feel that they can't do it.
Right, yeah.
And so it's just a matter of kind of getting them through their self-doubt. And I think if more people can have the confidence in themselves that they can do something, it may not be a full workout, but even doing something is better than doing nothing.
Yeah, one is incrementally greater than zero.
And then making small changes in diet. And again, it doesn't mean that everybody has to be perfect in their diet. Nobody's perfect in their diet, but if you can make changes. And I think the thing is that people get in their head that they have to follow a certain diet, that they have to be on the keto, or they have to be on this, or they have to be on that. And it's just
not true.
Eat healthy.
Right.
Make good choices.
At the moment.
Right.
And if you don't, that's okay. Next time do it, right?
Right.
Because so many people get off the wagon, they say, well, I don't follow it perfectly, so screw it. And then they quit altogether. You probably see that with people.
Right. But if you make more good choices, then not to say bad choices, but less good choices,
I like to tell people be 80% good 80% of the time. I think if we can all think that way, if we're 80% good 80% of the time, we're doing pretty good, right?
Because if you say, I can't have this ever, then
you're going to do it.
Want it more than anything.
Oh, goodness. Yeah, we will set ourselves up. And I know and I appreciate that you purchased, I think at least 2 packs of my books, packs of 10, and gave them out to your patients for gifts, right? Yes. Yeah, and I think that's cool. Again, I don't have the magic answers. It's just some tools and solutions I've used, but I think getting people to think about it is very good. And, you're one of the, I don't want to say one of the few because I know other doctors do it, but definitely in the minority of physicians, I believe, at least locally, that are really pushing people to get healthier and showing them how, like giving them resources and showing them how to do squats and, sending them places. I think that's really, really good. And I think everybody appreciates that. So,
and we like to see the numbers going down on the scale. I mean, all of us do. We individually and we as doctors like to see the numbers going down on the scale. But the whole thing, I think, is really more just getting healthy. And if you can eat better and you can move better, even if the scale doesn't come down, you're still doing good things for yourselves.
Absolutely. We do blood work for a reason, right? I say that all the time to people. I'm like, don't blow off your labs. They can show us a lot about our health. And I've had, and you probably had patients. I know we share some that haven't necessarily lost a lot of weight, but I know from them coming here, their ADLs are so much better and they're so much happier. And they're literally like doing the ladder now for their mobility, and they're in, a little bit advanced age, which is really cool for them to do. And then they've told us after they've seen you and evaluated their labs that their labs are so much better, even though they really haven't lost weight. And they're happy. That's really what it's all about. Sure, weight's great and everything, but we can absolutely forget that the real thing is to get healthier. And I think if everybody listening out there can hear that and focus on that, instead of that scale all the time, I think everybody would be a lot better off. Because let's face it, we use weight now and we have a kind of an idea of what overweight and underweight is. But if we take that back 50 years, we're all so much bigger. And it's going to be different in 50 years from now. So it's like, we sometimes have to get these numbers out of our head, and just get healthier. Your 40-pound weight loss is great, but I think the biggest change is we see it. You're ripped now. You got them. I took a picture today. I'm going to share it, but those deltoids are showing, those quads are showing. That's got to feel good, right?
It does feel good.
Yeah. I mean, isn't that what it's about? Being healthier and feeling good. I think it boosts everything with our confidence. All right. So then last thing we'll just say is for people that aren't your patients out there, you're coming from, how long have you been a doctor? How long have you been an MD practice?
25 years.
25 years. So I've been PT for 30. So that's a long time. So you got a lot of experience. So what do you want to tell people who you don't know out there? What was your Dr. B's sentence or two wisdom you can share with them?
Well, I think start doing something that you haven't been doing. Doing something is better than doing nothing from an activity standpoint. And do what's in your limitations. Start slow and then gradually build on that. Get some help from people who know what they're doing so that you can do it safely, because we don't want you getting injured.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. And, we talk about that, and talked about that with Dr. Haynes last week too. It's like, it's so important for those out there to do that, to get qualified professional advice. Don't get your doctors off of social media and don't get your trainers off of social media. Doctors or physicians are a lot better than my industry as far as that, because I don't think they're allowed to get on social media and maybe spew stuff, right? I'm not sure, but I don't see it. Thank God.
I don't think it's an allowed or not allowed, but
okay,
you kind of risk your license in the situation, so why put the risk out there?
Okay, so it's a smart thing to not risk your license. Because I've noticed I don't pull up Instagram and there's a video of a physician sitting there telling me to take ginkgo biloba. Like, I noticed that doesn't happen a lot, thank goodness. But in my industry, it happens all the time. And so, for those out there, just make sure, check your credentials of people before you start with them and make sure that they have the right credentials. Obviously, with physicians, that's fairly easy to figure out, but like with personal trainers, it's not. So just make sure you're getting steered in the right direction, because a lot of the stuff out there that's dangerous isn't going to come from people that know what they're doing. In other words, the science is a lot easier than what some people are making it out to be. There's no special diets or workouts. It's like Dr. B said, it's just doing a little bit more than you've currently done.
And I think the other big thing is to stick with it.
Consistency.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I tell people too. I mean, I have a big filing cabinet next to you over there, and I always say, people say, what's the answer? I'll say, well, pull out the thickest file, and there's your answer. In other words, the person that's been coming the longest consistently. I mean, there's not a magic workout. I mean, you work out with me. We work hard on Fridays, right? But we kind of do something different all the time, right?
We do.
Yeah, same format, but different things. Like today, in the last couple of weeks, we've done wall sits, right? You love those.
So fun. My favorite, Rob.
She loves them. Absolutely loves them.
But I do them.
But she absolutely does them. But a few weeks ago, we weren't doing that. So it doesn't have to be the same thing. We do something different all the time, but it's just consistently working out a couple times a week. I'm sure you don't do the same thing every time you go to crew, right? Isn't it a little bit different?
No, we do different workouts.
Yeah, so it's just, and it's fun, makes it fun. So just on a regular basis, consistently stick to it. And if you don't feel like doing something, just do it anyway. Maybe not 100%, but just put one foot in front of the other and keep motoring.
But find an activity you like to do.
Right, because you like crew.
Yeah.
You don't like to run.
I don't like to run.
Right.
But the crew's fun.
Yeah. So,
and I like doing this. I like working out on Fridays.
I could tell.
It's been great.
Yep.
It's been great.
And you do like wall sits.
I don't know that I like wall sits.
But you do.
But I'm doing them.
Right. And they're good. They're absolutely good. All right. So we will wrap it up here. And thank you, Dr. B, for coming.
Thank you for having me.
And we'll talk to everybody next week.